Hello and welcome to this episode of Not Just Ghost Stories. I'm your host Josh, joined by Jackie and Laura. We are a small team of experienced paranormal investigators, and here we discuss different locations that we've investigated, along with a little history and the paranormal evidence that we found. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a different show. We actually have a couple special guests with us. We have Donna and Matt from Tuscarora Moon, owners. If you guys would like to say hello.
Hey, hello.
How's it going, everybody?
Also, Donna is a very good psychic medium.
Correct. And so today we're going to basically ask some questions from our two resident psychics with Donna and Laura and try to see exactly why they actually like doing ghost hunting at the same time when you're surrounded by spirits all the time, right?
And we also want to get there. I mean, Josh and I walk in and we've got equipment and a little bit of intuition, but mainly we go more on what we can see, kind of feel, and what our equipment tells us. So, what's it like as a psychic where you've got ghosts lined up trying to get your attention on a ghost hunt? And yeah, and why do you hunt ghosts when you're probably always surrounded by them?
And then Matt, I've done a couple ghost hunts with you. You have an amazing intuition on things too. So I kind of like to get what you feel and hear and see things when you're doing ghost hunting also. So as we start to go from there, Jackie, you want to start off a question?
Yeah, sure. Well, Donna, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, let us know how long you've been a psychic and what do you read animals, people, a little bit about yourself.
Well, I feel I've been psychic like ever since I was born. As far back as I can remember, my first spirit I saw, I was 5. I have communicated with animals, plants, just a variety of different things. I feel that when my grandmother was teaching me about my gifts, because it's been in our line, I was taught to work with vibration and energy more than just kind of thinking outside the box, I guess, is what she taught me to do, and to feel the energy and vibration of whatever I'm working with. I feel energies are all around us.
Okay, and Laura, same question to you.
What was your question?
Oh, I forgot it. I was hoping you knew it. Oh no, just a little bit about your abilities and stuff.
Oh, well, I don't really know how long I've had the abilities. I guess what I'm able to do, I assumed everybody could do it until I discovered they couldn't. So I can't really tell you when it started. I guess, because I guess it's always been there. Would be my best guess. As far as why do I ghost hunt? Ghosts don't line up for me. That's not the way it works. At least not when I want it to.
Well, Matt, when you started ghost hunting, how did you first feel when you started doing things like that?
Before I ever actually started ghost hunting, I would actually sit there as a child and I would walk around the place and I would always get this odd feeling of not wanting to be there or having an issue of knowing what's actually there, having feelings that someone was following me or watching me. So finally, I actually found a team that actually introduced me into their team, and I just started, and I loved the tech of it. So I started working with all the tech and everything, and just following intuition.
Nice. All right.
Now, can you continue that? How do you marry the tech with your psychic abilities? Do they ever cancel each other out, or do you feel one thing but your equipment's telling you a different thing, or do they kind of go along together?
Typically, it goes together, but yes, there are some times where my intuition says something different than what the equipment is saying.
So let's start right off at the bat. At the start, you get to a place that may or may not be haunted. What do you, and kind of generalize this, what do you feel? Anything, or you just like, oh, it's a cool house?
Well, for me, it depends on if it's actually haunted or if it's residual. Sometimes I can pick up things that aren't actually haunted, but more memories of what had transpired there. Um, or just residual energy. So it depends on if it's haunted or not for me.
Now, can you instantaneously figure out that's a haunting, that's a memory, that's residual, or do you have to then investigate further?
Sometimes it's further. Most of the time, working with the vibration of energy that I've been taught, usually I can tell if it's one or the other, but I usually pick up energy through my hands. So, like when I'm walking through somewhere, I'll feel like the wall or handrail or something that's organic to the building. Um, when I did Gaines Tavern, it was kind of odd because my guides were like, take off your shoes, walk barefoot in there. And I didn't know why that was. I kept like feeling the walls with my hands and I wasn't picking up anything. Maybe some minute memories or residual, but it wasn't until I took my shoes off that I actually was able to connect with the house.
Just a quick question to you here, putting you on the spot a little bit. Could that be because the place you were haunting had a lot of slave activity and they probably weren't allowed to touch things, but they would have come in barefoot quite a bit?
I mean, I could see that as well. I Am At It actually talked about that prior. Growing up in New Orleans and having that ancestry myself, that's very probable.
I have a question. Do you notice a difference in responses that you receive if you're aware of the background of the location versus not knowing anything about it?
I try not to know anything, and I do feel it's more organic if we don't know anything. That way you get like to the root or the core of really what's there. I mean, I've been to places where a spirit won't come to me or won't talk to me. I can feel them there, but until they make communication with me, I have no idea.
Well, I'm gonna ask an odd question, kind of going back to where you say you do everything by touch. I don't know a lot of psychics. I know Laura, and I know you. um, and Matt, you being married to Donna, maybe you can help me, with this too. We go out places, right? We'll go to restaurants, we'll go to stores, anything like that. For example, today we were just walking around a store before we came just to do the podcast today. Laura has to touch everything. So,
Yep.
is Donna the same way?
Very much so. She's constantly got to either feel something or be at least in a very close proximity to it, and she'll look at it and stare at it or just hold it, either one.
Tidbit for our listeners: I cut my fingernails the day of every ghost hunt because I know they're going to be disgusting because I have to touch everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, are other psychics along the same lines? Do they do a lot of things by touch, or is it more by premonition?
I honestly don't know. There's not many I've talked to. I know my grandma used her hands. Jackie and actually Matt being on investigations with them, they've caught me playing with my hands a lot or holding, like I'm holding the energy in after I'm touching whatever's there, whether it's the wall or the railing, then I'll bunch my hands up. So I don't know if you do that, Laura, but it's like you're kind of holding the energy in.
I literally I walk down the wall with my palm against the wall. If I sat down on the floor, I know this is going to gross people out in these places that are ancient and they got nasty carpet, but I kind of almost like pet the carpet.
Yeah, no, I've done it.
I mean, I'll sit on a moldy couch and it's disgusting, but I find I still touch it like an idiot.
It's almost like you can't help it.
You can't. And there's been times where I'm like, it's that peace. I need that peace.
Yeah.
For example, the last place we were at, there was a mantle, like mirror piece that had been brought in from somewhere else. I say that because it didn't match the style of that house. I actually had to bring it and I set it in the middle of the floor because I wanted to run my hands over it. I didn't make it through the whole thing because Jackie was like, I don't know if it's a good idea, whatever you're doing. So yeah, your hands, I don't know either. They do something.
Well, yeah. Well, I know that you don't have to be completely psychic, but if you have some type of intuition and you touch something, Jackie, I know you've had it happen to you quite a few times. One of the first times I can think back in memory was whispers.
Yes, that's because the universe has a sense of humor and uses me as its laughing boy. I can touch tons of things and not get anything off them. But every once in a while, it's like I feel I must touch it, and it's usually the most horrible feeling you could ever get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you also touched that baby carriage at Hinsdale, and same
And look what
story.
happened there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I don't really have a sense of touch to things. Like, I can't really, it doesn't really communicate with me that way. Matt, do you have any type of communication like that either?
No, I don't.
Okay.
So,
So-
how do you two, Matt, how do you get things like out of the air or seeing or hearing?
Basically, mine's just if I'm in an area, then I don't usually pick up on anything spiritual. I usually pick up more on a darker nature. So if there's something more of a malevolent nature, then I'll actually start to feel and be like, okay, you know what? This isn't a good place to be. This isn't a good area to be in. We've got to move.
Well, brings up another question. Donna, do you feel mostly good stuff or mostly evil stuff, or do you feel it all about the same?
I pretty much feel it all. I don't like dealing with the more negative or darker things. I've had to, but I don't prefer it.
I mean, we've ran into some bad stuff, and like, you know, as far as somebody, you know, like me, for me, it's a gut intuition is the way I like to. I can feel it, you know, like a frog in my throat, this pit into my stomach, and then, you know, start kind of looking around, going, something doesn't feel right. Now I know Laura. I'm trying to think. The first time that you actually ran into something darker was probably Hansdale, wasn't it?
Whispers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, what kind of feeling? What kind of feelings like would darker to lighter energies give you?
Well, the first time I experienced that darker entity, I was ill. If we all remember, I had to exit the house completely, take my shoes off, get down in the grass.
Well, that's because you decided to try to sleep in the portal.
So-
Yeah, caution, don't do that, people.
it's not as strong now. I don't know if that necessarily is because I just haven't came across an entity that is, you know, the same. Maybe they're just all different, or if it's that I've learned to recognize it sooner, so it's not completely like overwhelming and, you know, you're into your eyeballs before you realize it.
Mhm.
So maybe that's kind of the difference. But in the beginning, a lot of it was nausea, and I guess it still is. It's just now I know how to stop it.
Now, what about for you, Donna? Like, how is there different feelings between the two, and like, are they very prominent? Like, or can you just kind of go like, no, I'm not dealing with you because I can tell you're just malevolent.
It actually varies. Sometimes, like Laura was saying, I'll be so drawn to it that I'll like you were saying, you try to sleep in it. But you know, I'll sit in it. I'll bask in it. I'll, you know, try to figure it out, and then before I know it, I'm in over my head. So it still can happen no matter how, you know, versed you are in it. But sometimes I can be like, yeah, no, I'm not touching that, you know, or I'm not going there. That's bad juju, walking away. So it just varies.
If I decide to try to connect with something like that, I don't ever do it alone. Like back to the mirror that I was talking about a moment ago, I decided I wanted to scry in that. Jackie was the only other person on that ghost hunt that had scried and knew basically anything about it. So I waited for her to be available because I knew that it wasn't necessarily nice what was in that. And I wanted to make sure that somebody there knew what to do if for some reason I couldn't, you know, get myself away from it.
I've actually been going through that recently. I've got a client that I'm working with, and they asked me to research one of their childhood homes, and I'm working on that. But every time I try to get to that level of like remote viewing it or astral projection to it to work with it, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to go in there. I'll get so far. And then it's like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this alone, where I feel I have to have somebody right there with me to do it. So I totally get that.
Yeah. Now, Matt, when you say you feel malevolent spirits and everything else like that, is there a certain way that you feel them? Like, is it just more mental? You're kind of like, I can pick that up. Or is it something different, you know, where like you can just feel that energy?
Pretty much, I feel the energy, but it's more like a thought.
Okay.
It'll come over me like a thought, and it'll be like, wait, something isn't quite right here. And then it'll, like you said, it'll move down, and I almost like going down my spine and give me chills and be like, okay, we've got to get out of here.
Okay. So, and the only reason I'm asking all of those questions is because every single person is different. You know, Jackie, when you feel something leveling, I mean, it really kind of comes to you hard, but you start to get it more like you can hear it inside your head, right?
No, actually, it's my heart. It
Yeah.
affects my heart. But I want to ask Matt this because the malevolent energy is usually stronger. There's a bit of a rush to it, isn't there? Like you're almost like, yeah, like I'm okay. Let me say, maybe you're not, but I am. When something malevolent, it's just kind of like I can feel the power in it. I'm kind of drawn to it, and I'm kind of happy that ooh, there's all that power there. Do you get that, or is I just the only crazy one?
To a point, yes. I do kind of feel like a draw to it, almost like a kinship to it. And it makes me want to go towards it, not really as a matter of, ooh, power, let me go to it, but more of, this seems more familiar to me, so let me go to it because it seems more, lack of a better way of saying it, more like family.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go with another big question. Donna, I mean, the spirits, they're drawn to you, right?
Yes.
What makes you want to go on ghost hunts to go find those other spirits?
For me, I think it's part of community, going with people that I know. Also, I mean, it's a chance for experience, travel. It's also an experience to see like how I can help if there are other spirits that have not reached out to me that I can go and help.
I mean, that's not something I ever thought about because it's kind of like you have those ones that I know we've been on ghost hunts where you feel like they're there, you feel like they want to talk to you, but they just can't. Like they can't pull the energy almost enough to say something to you or even manipulate a simple piece of equipment like a K2 or anything like that. So for you, is it a whole lot easier for you to get to those spirits and actually allow them to talk to you?
I've had trouble, like what you're saying, what ones that don't have enough energy. Those are really hard to communicate with. Gosh, I'm trying to think of some experiences I've had with that. I've had ones like that where I'll feel them, but they're not able to communicate, and I'll express to them they can talk to me in dreams then, or reach me in another way, maybe during when I'm meditating or more open. So I've had to work it differently sometimes.
Okay. Now I do know, and this will be a question that might start us on a wormhole. I don't know. We've been on a ghost hunt. Uh, Laura was feeling something was there. It was Sweet Springs. Feeling something was there. However, they couldn't talk to Laura, or they wouldn't talk to Laura.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
They were coming to Jackie and getting mad at Laura for not helping them.
Yes, they were very pissed at Laura, but they were using me. She was asking the questions, and I'm getting answers in my head. I backed off. I told him, "You talk to her. She's a psychic. She can hear you. She can understand you." But they came to me first, and I believe that happened at the speakeasy. You were there, and Denise was there, and asking questions, and I was telling you what I was getting in my head. I don't know if they were talking to you, and maybe I was just crazy at that moment, or whether they were answering me instead of going to you.
Actually, there, I wasn't getting anything when they were talking to you. I would feel them, like their presence, but they weren't speaking to me. I've had that happen.
Do you think they're afraid of you?
I don't know what it is. I can't put a finger, like even with your experience with it. The only thing I've equated it to is, like if you go into a really busy restaurant and you see somebody sitting at a table and you're like, oh God, I hope they don't see me. I hope they don't see me. And you don't want to talk directly to them, but you want to go talk to Joe Smo over at table 5, Maybe it's just their perception of who they feel more comfortable with talking to.
That could be.
I think too, a lot of it comes down to energy, and we've all wore the headpiece before that has recorded our waves. They're not the
Mhm.
same.
Yeah.
Maybe they just can't get through on the kind of wave that a psychic has.
Well, that was going to be kind of one of my things. Is there? I know there's. I've watched different psychics and different telepaths and everything. Empaths on television, and they can all do different things. Are there different levels of being a psychic to put you on a different energy plane? I guess I don't know if that's coming across right.
I understand what you're saying. There's different levels and stuff. So, are there different psychics that operate on the low plane where you operate on the high plane, or
Yeah.
whatever?
So the leading into the question of, is it possible like those people that couldn't talk to Laura, she would ask the questions, Jackie was getting the answers, can't get on the same wavelength or plane for you guys, for them to actually be able to talk to you? Can they be sitting like maybe just this one step lower and they just need to go one step higher in order to actually, for you guys to help them or listen to them?
I mean, that's possible. That makes sense.
I mean, if you have a psychic thing too, and you hear people randomly, when you're in the shower or whatever, you learn to block that.
Mm-hmm.
You build a wall. I would think that a wall where somebody can sneak in the shower on you is going to be stronger than most people's just random wall that they build.
Okay.
So maybe
I could see
it
that.
just is too thick and too interwoven in a different way that they just can't
Yeah.
they just can't force it in.
I mean, I'm still learning about this stuff. So, Matt, I mean, you've been with Donna for a while. Have you seen things like that? Would you have something to put in on that?
Actually, yeah. I have an actually theory on that myself.
Okay.
Going actually to the conversation you two have had, you and Laura. I think within that, like she said, the EC or EEC measuring
Yeah.
the brainwave pattern. I think that yes, certain spirits can't actually connect to the same brainwave pattern.
Okay.
So if we can actually measure out and find the electrical energy pattern similar to the brainwave pattern, then as technicians, we could actually get to where we could actually interweave and try to connect more mentally with spirit and be able to communicate better. Because, yeah, I do believe there is a disconnect where the energy waves are just a bit off to where they can't speak with one, but they can another.
And see, that's just amazing to me, though.
Let me interject this first. We've been talking about a piece of equipment. I call it my Xena Warrior Princess piece.
That was what I was going to call it. I was like, that's not going to
What
make any
it
sense.
is, it's actually called a Muse 2, and it does measure your 5 different brain waves, and it puts out a graph on your phone and stuff. And we have used it, and we have gotten different results. The first time we used it, the 3 of us, Tech Jeff was with us, Josh and I, our brain waves were pretty much similar. Laura's brain waves were totally different. The pattern was totally different.
And if you recall, when I sat down, because we went up those steps that first time, and that door was locked, and I said, "There's something on the other side of that door." So I sat down at the top of the steps and attempted to talk through the door, and the brain waves changed when I was actively trying to use the gift.
You've noticed that too, Matt, when we've done experiments with ours.
Yeah, I have.
I mean, it just goes to show, like, the whole entire paranormal world is just crazy all in itself because of these different, I guess, planes of existence is the only term I can think to use. You know, whether it comes down to time or how you passed away or when you passed, anything like that. Because another thing that I've noticed is somebody that died, let's just go with 1700s, 1800s, is on a total different plane from somebody that just recently died in the like 1990s.
Why would they not be? I would have think that energy fields on Earth would have been different at that time. There were no towers that we have now. Eh, So it would make sense.
Yeah. So, and that's what I was kind of getting to. I mean, is it one of those things where you have all of these different things, and even the Earth's magnetic field can change these planes?
I think people vibrated at a lower frequency in the past.
I would agree with that.
Well, there wasn't as much. We have a lot of EMF.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Stuff bouncing
Contamination.
around that, you absorb it over time. Well, why would anybody in the 1800s, where would they have gotten that from? Struck by lightning? I mean,
Cosmic radiation.
ooh.
Hey, Bigfoot was still around then. You never know what he can cause.
So anyway, getting back to our psychic. Yes, we go off on tangents. Getting back to our psychic on a ghost hunt. I took some people, it was their first ghost hunt, and they did Waverly Hills. And this one lady was telling me about the shadow that she saw, and she described it and what it was doing and what it felt and stuff like that. And I looked at her and I said, "You're psychic." And she said, "I am?" She didn't know it. Did somebody have to tell you you're psychic, or did you kind of figure it out yourself?
For me, again, it's been in our line for a long time, so I kind of just always knew. For a long time, though, see, my grandma died when I was 10, and she was kind of my mentor. So I was pretty young when she passed. So I grew up through all my teen years and other years thinking I'm an empath. Well, it took I and Matt to go to this paranormal cruise we were on. And this lady, she was a very gifted psychic and had been for a long time. And she's like, "Honey, you're not an empath, you're a medium." And that was only in like 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. So I had no clue. So, I can see where you're saying, did someone have to tell you? Because I had no clue that I had mediumship, that's what I had. I thought it was being an empath. I had no idea.
I'm really jealous because I've asked countless people to tell me what I am.
I'll tell you.
You don't count.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing with Laura is she knows they're there. She can communicate to a certain extent. She feels their emotions. Emotions are huge. I couldn't tell you how many people will be. It doesn't matter where we are, a restaurant, store, grocery store, Dollar General. It doesn't matter. We go someplace. Laura just kind of looks at somebody and she gets their life story.
Mm-hmm.
And
Not in a glimpse. I mean, they just walk up and start telling it to me.
yeah.
Yeah, I have that too.
Okay, so
And they even will follow you.
Mm-hmm.
and talk to her the whole entire time. So is that more empathic? Is that more intuitive, or is it a mix of both?
I would say a mixture. The lady that helped me find out that I'm a medium or told me that, she said we all have like these gifts that you can have like multiple, like you might have one strong point, like mine's working with the dead, but then you might have that little bit of like empath ability of working with the living as well. So I think we have like a combination. It sounds like you and I are a lot alike, Laura, so I'd probably say you're a medium.
Do you get to pick it? As a psychic, do you get to pick which one you want to be good at, or
I haven't.
Can you manufacture, or can you get better at it by if you just I want to talk to animals. That's all I'm going to do. Can you increase that strength?
I mean, I think practice makes perfect with anything, but I know my strong point would be working with the dead.
Okay. I mean, Laura, what would you feel your strong point right now at this point is?
I can fix other people's energy.
Okay. So the next question then I have is, Donna, if you could practice on one of them and just make it 100% perfect at all times, what part of it would be the best part of it for you?
Like which one I would pick
Yeah.
to work on? I'd probably at this point work with the animal communication more. I have, thanks to Jackie, I've been delving down that a lot. I think I'd work with that more because at this point, I feel like there's a lot of suffrage with a lot of animals and our time and that. And if I could help in some way, I would do that more.
Well, I have to tell my story here. So I met Donna as she was, hey, were we in the same ghost hunting group, weren't we? Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
And I found out she was a psychic medium and stuff like that. And she had a dog problem once, and she asked me, I'm like, you're the psychic, talk to the dog. So anyway, I would sometimes have your friends want to get to a psychic, and Donna will come over and read for them. And then she makes some money, and I have to feed everybody. But I also have dogs here, and I went up to check see if Donna needed anything in between readings, and she told me my collie went up and told her he had a toothache. And I looked at her and I said, my collie came up here for a reading. So I know Donna says for the longest time when I first met her, she's like, I talk with dead people. I don't talk to animals. Well, obviously she never told the animals that because my collie went up to her for a reading.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, did she charge you for the reading?
I haven't paid yet. Don't bring it up.
So, well, Laura, same question for you. If you could, what would you like to focus on more in order to try to pinpoint the
No.
ability? Really thinking about it right this second.
Well, while you're thinking about it, first, can you talk to animals?
I don't want to say that animals talk to me. I want to say that I can see an animal's soul, maybe, is more what it is. It's more of I look them in the eye and,
I know they're drawn to you.
yeah, something
mean-
like that. Animals is a weird thing for me. I think I probably have a lot more gift with that than I realize. For example, we go to the zoo and we went in the reptile house and I said, hello. And every snake on that wall stood up and looked.
Every single one. It was kind of
And I
weird.
walked to the alligators and I said, hello. And they did the same thing. And I was like, I'm going to go back outside. I didn't talk to them. They just responded to a
Yeah.
hello. So
Yeah.
I'm sure if I tried, but it's also new to me that trying to learn is overwhelming. There's like probably 50 other million things I've never even heard of that when I do, I'm be like, oh, I got to read about that. It's impossible to learn it all.
Yeah.
When you find out that there's different types of abilities, does it ever awaken an ability you didn't know that you had within you?
Yeah, I had no idea that I could astral project.
What about you, Donna? Same question.
Again, practicing things like any metaphysics, astral projection, or any of that. I've been taught that through our line, whether it was my grandmother or my mother, for a very long time. So that was kind of, I can't really put that in perspective, but the animal thing I can, because Jackie really helped me find that in myself.
I will say that we kind of mentioned it earlier. I don't think on the podcast. I think this was before we started recording that we were talking about Octagon Hall again, and that is where I discovered how to astral project to a certain specific spot. Jackie didn't tell me like steps to do, but she told me what I needed to do in order to open myself to figure those out. So, in my opinion, that's a gift of its own. Like you're able to uncover other people's gifts.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
I don't know if you have if something tells you what that person can do and then you just relay it to them. I don't know.
Okay, in case, I go out there and my fans meet me, let me put a stop to this right now. Here's how I operate. They're psychic, I'm not. Since I'm not a psychic, I don't know any of the rules, so I make up my own. And when Donna said she didn't talk to animals, I looked at her and said, you're a frickin' psychic, talk to animals. I don't teach anybody, I just tell them, do it.
It's true. She's also yelled at me. If you figure out what they're keep yelling at me for.
All right. Well, then I'm going to go with one last question from me, and then, everybody else can. So, you guys are practicing. You guys are trying to figure things out still, even Donna, with how long you've been doing everything. what can friends and family, husbands, me and Matt, friends, Jackie, and everybody else around. And then I'm kind of asking this kind of for general audience. If anybody out there does know a psychic, what can you do to help them kind of hone what you guys do? What can we do to help you guys?
Just tell them to do it.
That's Jackie.
Actually, being direct does help.
It does help, yeah.
It does.
Making them take the time to practice.
Yeah, that and a lot of patience, because sometimes I know if I'm somewhere and I'm picking up energy, it might be 2 hours later, but I'm gonna act a fool, whether it was sadness or anger or whatever. Which, if I'm around Matt, then he's gonna get the brunt end of that. So patience, be patient with us when we're doing this
Matt,
kind of stuff.
I don't know about you. How much waiting have you done while somebody tells Donna their life story?
Hours.
Me too.
Years.
I mean, I would say, especially since you thought at one time you were specifically an empath, I'm assuming that still comes up a lot. Sometimes you absorb the emotions that you don't even realize that you do. And there's only one way to not let them stay in you. And that is to force it out. So if anger was fed to me and I absorbed it and didn't realize it because I was focused on something else in public, I still have to get rid of that.
Yep, me too.
There you go, Josh. Now we know why.
It doesn't make it fair, but I've even taken it out on Jackie because she kept trying to feed me flipping banana. Long story.
And I kept, because it was pissing her off, I kept doing it.
Yeah. But I guess it calmed me down because I went to sleep after that.
Yeah, true. Jackie, any last questions?
I do have any last questions. We, of course, everybody, we try to get across ghost hunting is fun, but it does have certain dangers. So you never ghost hunt. I don't care if you're going to your grandmother's house. My grandmother's mean, so I have double protection when I go. You take protection. Do you have to have, as a psychic, do you have to have extra protection, or?
For me, I feel I do, yeah.
I guess the answer is yes, but at the same time, I also think it's built in. For me, like, I believe the ability or the power that feeds the ability comes from my ancestors, and they're always there. And so I guess there is extra protection, but it's not something I have to do anything for other than ask for it.
I mean, I could see that, like what you're saying with the ancestry thing. I believe that too, but I have a natural ability to channel, especially working with the dead a lot. So that's where I feel I have to guard myself more, or I get jumped. Sometimes I've worked on that a lot, but yeah, it still happens. So
I still haven't figured that out. I don't even know when I'm being jumped until they tell me.
Yeah, it's happened only a couple times, but
Yeah.
at that point we had to pull you out.
Yeah. And also, do you have to take extra precaution to stop and say you cannot go home with me? I mean, if you go to a haunted place, and matter of fact, I can give you one example, Rhodes Hotel, where you didn't say they couldn't go home with you, and they did. So,
yeah, yep.
So, and sometimes, well, for me, I don't think there's going to be anything that goes home with us. So we can be a little more lax with it, but you pretty much have to do it every time, or?
Yeah, I do it every time, but there's been places like Monroe House where I'm like, okay, I need it to go home with me. And I allowed it to till I figured it all out. And that was a roller coaster ride for a good year, 2 years. So, yeah.
So pretty much after this podcast, there's going to be a lot of people out there feeling sorry for you, Matt.
All right. Any last statements? Questions? We're almost to the end of time here, so that's why.
And if you're okay with it, I'd like to share your information for Tuscarora Moon on our Facebook in case people you want a really good psychic. I highly recommend Donna.
Well, and I encourage anybody that does listen to send us questions. If you have a question, for Donna, Matt, Laura, me, or Jackie, we're happy to answer. And if you do have one for Donna, like I said, we'll link a page into ours, but you can ask her, but you can ask us, and we'll relay the message.
Or you can ask us for answers. You'll get some. They may not be correct, but they'll be funny as hell.
I will say one more thing. So we were up at the shop yesterday for the first time, then where they've moved to now. This shop doesn't feel like your old shop at all. It's a complete opposite. I have not been very good lately at meditating or just taking the time to shut it all down. And I have to say, Matt, you probably thought I was being rude because I didn't even really talk for a while we were there, just sat in the chair with my eyes closed. I left there feeling so much better that I'm really liable just to stop by someday and lay on that couch.
Actually, no, I didn't think you were rude. That's actually what we're there for, is for people to come in, feel more at peace, get more in touch with themselves, and become one with themselves and everything around them.
I left a lot lighter. So
I'd like to keep track of that if you wouldn't mind us including us in on it, because your new shop is not haunted, is it?
We've had some coming and going of spirits, but I would not say. I think that's more me, not really the shop.
that's what I would have felt
yeah.
too. It's more of a
Yeah.
beacon.
It's more
You're
me.
there if they
Yeah.
need you.
That's what I'd like to know. If over time, as you stay there, will some spirits move in, and can you allow them to or not allow them to?
I currently have brick dust up, so I'm kind of trying to keep it a clean slate.
It's so
But I've
calm in
noticed
there.
when
Now
I'm
it's
in
going to be
there.
really obvious if something pops up.
Yeah, it is.
Well, not if it's benevolent and of the same energy that you want in that shop, kind and peaceful. Wouldn't that be harder to?
Such a flat hum in there. I still think you would
I
feel it,
think we'd
whether
feel
it was
yeah.
a happy person
Yeah.
or a nasty person.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would agree with that.
All right. Well, I do want to thank Matt and Donna for joining us today. We really appreciate y'all's input, Laura, your input too on this, and trying to figure everything out. So until then, this has been Not Just Ghost Stories. We've been your hosts, Josh.
Laura?
And Jackie.
And until next time, you can find information and contact us on our website at notjustghoststories.com and see evidence that we've discussed on Facebook at Not Just Ghost Stories.